What's up, hackers? Welcome to Attack on Tuesday. My name is Taggart, and tonight we are going to be doing some Log4Shell research. And some of this hopefully will benefit some real people. I have a little bit of experience with our first target tonight, and that's because I used to be a school administrator, and I have run more Moodle servers than I care to count, and I really thought that I was done with Moodle, but it turns out that Moodle was not done with me. And that's because one of the features of Moodle is the ability to set up a global search engine using Apache Solr. And if you've been following the Log4Shell news very, very closely, you may notice that Solr is one of the impacted software projects using the Log4J. Apparently, you're supposed to pronounce that Log4J. I'm not going to remember how to do that, but impacting. So Solr is impacted by that vulnerability. So here's why we're doing this to start. Firstly, I knew as soon as the Log4Shell vulnerability dropped and it became clear that these might be an issue, and as soon as it was clear that Solr was impacted, that Moodle could be part of that stack. And so the first thing I did was start looking for anybody who was mentioning Moodle. And not because I am responsible for a Moodle server at this point, I'm not. But there are a lot of schools out there who still use Moodle, a lot of universities who still use Moodle. And in every case, the people who are maintaining these learning management systems are overworked, they're underpaid, and it's going to be difficult for them, even if they know that it is set up this way, to keep on top of vulnerabilities like this. And so I got really worried that this vulnerability was going to be able to kind of slip past without notice. And sure enough, when I started looking around, considering Moodle has a 25,000 bounty on its head from a certain exploit buyer, now, as soon as I started looking around for just like searching for Moodle and Log4Shell, right, to see what people were talking about, the first result, let's do it live. Let's see if we can find it. So Moodle, if I can spell Moodle, Log4Shell, let's see what happens. Nope. Let's try Log4J. Perfect. Right up top. This is, I'm pretty sure, the one that I saw. Yeah. So this is the first thing that I saw. And I don't really like to put projects, especially open source projects, on blast like this, but this is kind of egregious. So can you please let me know whether Moodle is impacted by the Log4J vulnerability? First comment, Moodle is not affected. While that is technically true, we're going to demonstrate tonight why that is an overstatement. Especially because like some other things which some people use in relation to Moodle. For example, if you use Moodle Global Search with a Solr backend, then you may need to check that. Yeah, you may need to check that. Nothing here about the fact that this might be a problem. So we're going to do it live tonight. We're going to set up a Moodle instance. We're going to do it from scratch because I want to demonstrate the process and kind of how administrators would go through this. So we're going to set up a Moodle server from scratch. We're going to attack it, and we're going to see what happens. Those of you who are following on the Discord may know that we have reason to believe that this thing is going to be impacted, but we want to go through the process, and I think we're going to learn a lot as we go. And so let's get started. And then if we have time at the end, I have another fun project in mind for us since we're in the PHP universe tonight, which is going to be, I have a really old application that I wrote myself back in 2014, and it deserves to be taken out behind the shed and torn to pieces, because this was the first piece of software, the first application really that I wrote. I wrote it in PHP because I didn't know any better. And so we are going to just rip it to shreds to see what we can do with it. But first, let's get started with Moodle, shall we? So I'm going to start with Hyper-V here, and I have my Hyper-V machine set up. You can see Kali is running, and I have a Moodle test Ubuntu 1804, not 2004, because I want to use a slightly older server for this to simulate what people might actually be running. And I haven't installed anything on it. We're going to install Moodle from scratch. We're going to set it up like a brand new, fresh install of Moodle to see what happens, as you would if you were an administrator. And let's take a look at our settings here just to see how we have this set up. I only gave it one CPU. It's not going to be doing that much heavy lifting. 2 gigs of RAM. The only thing that's really non-standard here is that I gave it 2 network interfaces. I have the default switch so that it can access the internet, and then I gave it my isolation lab, which is the IP address on which we're going to set up the Moodle site, because that is going to connect to our Kali box as well. So we're going to test from the Kali machine over to the Moodle machine. That's how we're going to set up the lab. So let's fire this thing up and get started. It's been a while until last night since I set up a Moodle instance, but I was able to remember everything you need to do to make it happen. You know, at the end of the day, it's really not that special. It's a PHP MySQL application, so nothing too crazy. There are a few extra PHP modules you have to remember to install, but that's about it. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Oh my god, does this thing have a desktop? No way. It gave me the desktop version of Ubuntu? I mean, whatever. That's fine. English, I think. LA. Wow, I have to go through the whole install, huh? All right. We'll do the whole thing. This is dumb, but whatever. All right, so let's, as this is going, let's set up a couple of other things that might be fun that we haven't had a chance to do before. One of the things that people don't love about Hyper-V is the fact that port forwarding is a bit of a pain. When you think about how you do it in VirtualBox, you just kind of right-click on the machine and you set up port forwarding from the NAT network interface. You can't really do it point and click in Hyper-V, but you can definitely do it. In order to make that happen, though, you have to set things up on a separate virtual switch. And you have to configure the network address translation all through PowerShell commandlets. So it's definitely doable, but it's a little bit of a different process. And the reason why I would do it in this case, I have the Kali box in the isolation lab, but I kind of want to do it for fun anyway. The reason I would do it in this case is in order to SSH into the machine directly from my virtualization host, my desktop, right? And that makes it a little bit easier to work with. It's something that I do a lot of times in my VirtualBox labs on my Linux machine. I want to be able to do it here. How would I do it? So as this is going through applying changes, we'll go through sort of the first step. First thing we're going to need is an administrative PowerShell. So this is PowerShell in admin mode, right? Elevated privileges. And the next thing we're going to do is create a new virtual switch. Now this part you can do in the Hyper-V interface. If you go to Virtual Switch Manager, you can make a new switch here if you want. But I'm going to do it with the PowerShell commandlet just because we have it all together in one place. I'll zoom this in a little bit too so we can see it. So we're going to do new VM switch, switch name NAT switch, and set it up to a switch type of internal. Okay. Alrighty. Let's get that PowerShell commandlet. Did I close it? No, there it is. Hey, Slick Pup Stream, thank you so much for the follow. NAT switch, you can name it whatever you want. It's just handy to call it that. Okay, cool. And if I look at my virtual switch manager, sure enough, there's a new switch. That is the end, by the way, of what you can do in the GUI for this process. Everything else is going to have to be PowerShell. So we'll just minimize this and we'll go through this. So now we have to create a new net IP address. We have to assign an IP address to our machine on this switch to give it a presence on this new network. And for my NAT stuff, I tend to like the 99 octet in position 3, or the 99 address in the third octet. I don't know why, I just do. 192.168 is fine. This is all good. I'm good with that. Okay, cool. And sure enough, it tells us that we have our new IP address, 192.168.99.1. Dope. And it was a 24 subnet, totally large enough. Now we have to create a network address translation network, basically. So we're going to do the same sort of thing here. We're going to run new netnat, call it the NAT network, but instead of 10, of course, it's going to be 99 in that third octet. Cool. At which point, we're done for the moment until our virtual machine is ready to go. I'm going to kick this to 1440 by 900 and save my settings for future connections to this virtual machine. I'm not going to be connecting to it that often. Ubuntu knows what's up. It's giving me my enhanced session with Xorg or XRDP right out of the box. Something that you can do with Kali, but it takes extra configuration to make it happen. All right, cool. Lots of crap I don't need in here, but that's fine. I really thought they were giving me a server instance. So let's get some stuff installed first and get some things configured. First thing we're going to want to do is go to settings. We're going to add a third network adapter, or a third network interface. Why? Because we need to connect it to the NAT switch. This is how we're going to make the connection from the virtualization host into the machine itself. All right, so we'll add a NAT switch. All good there. Now, there's nothing on this network that is providing an IP address, right? There's no DHCP happening. So if I go to my network, I can do it in the GUI now, I suppose. Right? It's going to say it's Ethernet 1, which is the isolation lab, is disconnected, and the Ethernet 2 is disconnected. Now, I'm going to do all of this from the terminal, because that's how we roll on this channel. Don't upgrade. I'm going to do all this from the terminal. So the first thing I want to make sure is that this thing has an OpenSSH server installed. Install Y open SSH server. Let's update. We'll try that first. It's been a minute since it got its last catalog. Great. Now we're installing OpenSSH server. And I'll full screen this. Is this text large enough? I can make it bigger, of course. We'll zoom it in just a little bit. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope the week is treating you well so far. I am very caffeinated, having been the the QB for our Log4Shell response. It's been an interesting couple of days. GoPro, thank you so much for the sub. Sar, I'm so happy to hear that you're great. SMF, yeah, it is freezing. That's hyperbole. I'm from Philly. I should be able to take it. But here's the thing about houses in California. They're not insulated. So even when it's like 55 outside, that's actually a pretty harsh temperature for indoor environs. Yeah, so we got a nice steady rain today, which is cool, but whew. Between that and not great heating systems here in Southern California, it can be a bit much. Okay, so we have... You are cold going to sleep and freezing waking up. Yeah, it's... I've said multiple times, maybe not on stream, but basically California houses are tents with ambitions. They're really not what I consider to be like a shelter. All right, so we have... I know that the connection failed. This thing's going to keep screaming at me until we set this up. So let's do IP address show. And we can see that ETH1 has an IP address. This is our default network. And this 172.29 is being provided by Hyper-V. ETH1 and ETH2, we haven't set those up yet. But what? GoPro? Thank you so much for the raid, friend. Viewers of GoPro Slow Yo, you already know how amazing GoPro is, but we're going to shout him out anyway. Good friend of mine. GoPro, how was your stream, bud? What were you doing with Log4J? All right, so let's Oh, you did Log4J again. Yeah, I know. It's so fast. And I saw that Al was doing... Oh, awesome. I know Al was doing the solar room. I actually spoke to him earlier today. I was like, hey, are you planning on doing the solar room? Because I didn't want to have duplicate content for this community tonight. Sud or Sud 4K. Thank you so much for the follow. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're setting up an Ubuntu server in order to test Moodle, because we have reason to believe Moodle is very vulnerable to something in a certain configuration. So we're gonna test that out. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not after a bounty for this. It actually shouldn't qualify for a bug bounty in Moodle because the problem is in Solar. But my problem is, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm really upset that the way that the Moodle community handled this was like, oh, there's no problem in Moodle and we're just not going to talk about it anymore. Like, no, man. People who use your tool might be vulnerable to something that you encourage them to use. You should have a message about this vulnerability. You shouldn't just dismiss it. And if you can hear me getting like more annoyed than almost I ever do, it's because I'm pretty even keeled, but the second you take a position that's going to threaten kids, I lose it. And this is one of those things. Cyber Payload, Subtronic, thank you so much for the follows. Right? Kids could get hurt by this. Their education could be endangered by this. I'm not happy if you don't take that seriously. Okay, so we have our Ubuntu machine, and here's our Kali machine, of course. And if we look at our IP addresses here, you'll see that I have my bridge network, and I have ETH1. And I actually need to add an IP address to both of these so that they can talk to each other. So the first thing I'm going to do it here for sudo IP adder add dev ETH1 10.0.1.5. That's cool. Oh, wow, Fielded. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry that I kind of glided right past that. Moodle is an open source learning management system. It stands for the Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. And the reason I know that is because I have set up Moodle like 10 times in my career for different places. Think of it like an open source Canvas or Schoology or anything else like that. It's for teachers and students to collaborate, and it's been around forever, right? It has a really long history, but it was really kind of the original remote school. if you want to put it that way. It's still around and it still works great if you know how to manage it. But there are a couple of things that Moodle can do that in this case are a little scary, and one of them is this feature called global search. And global search, if you look through it, has this option for real global search rather than just like simple string searching. You can set up an indexed search, and the way you do it is with Apache Solr. And therein lies the problem, because Solr, we know, is vulnerable to this issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up Moodle, we're going to hook Solr up to it, and then we're going to see what happens. But first we need an IP address. So we have 10.0.1.5, that's fine. I'll use 10.0.1.0. Okay, so sudo IP add or add, and then over in my have you found some CVEs in the Moodle in the past? You did say, Sar, that you were deep in PHP for a while. Sudo IP adder add dev eth, in this case 1, same thing, and 10.0.1. Let's make it 4/24. Okay, that took, and let's just make sure I can ping 10.0.1.5, which is the Kali box. I can. We have a network. Sandor Clegabe and Ralkbeer, thank you so much for the follows. The annual conference for Moodle is called Moodle Moot, which, okay. Solidays, thank you for the follow. All right, so we have a network. Now we want to get that NAT going just because we can, basically. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before, except in this case, it's going to be, we're going to do 192.168.99. Let's give it 3. And not ETH1, ETH2, because that's the other network interface. And in the GUI, we could set this up to be permanent, right? But for now, it's fine. Now, the last thing we need to do for our network address translation, if we wanted to do SSH from our host through Hyper-V, is this bit right here. Let's get our administrative PowerShell session up. And we're going to change up some of these parameters. But the commandlet here is add netnat static mapping. The external IP address, we don't really care what the external is because we're going to be hitting localhost, but any IP that the host system has would count for that. The external port is going to be not 22. That's crazy. Why would we do that? In this case, we're going to do 3222. The protocol is going to be TCP. The internal IP address is going to be, as we just saw, 99.3. And then, God, this music's louder than I thought it was going to be. There we go. The internal port is going to be 22. Now we have a network address translations from my hypervisor's port 3222 is going to be translated into the target, which is the Ubuntu machine, on port 22. So if all goes according to plan, I should be able to SSH localhost 3222 and talk to my Ubuntu machine. And that's just going to make this a ton easier. And I'll also say this, because I've done this, I had to do this at work. I use Hyper-V for my virtualization because it's more performant than VirtualBox on Windows. But if you actually want to have like a Kali attack box listening, you might want to set up port forwarding for your interpreter listeners or whatever through Hyper-V this way into your Kali box so that you can use the machine the way that you would expect to. All right, this is all good, right? 99.3, 22. Awesome. Okay. If all has gone according to plan, let me open up a new SSH window here. SSH empty tagger at localhost port 3222. Dang it. But that, I think, is because I forgot to start the service. Sudo systemctl start sshd, and we'll enable it too, because why not? Okay. One more time. Crap. Well, that's disappointing. I really thought that was going to work. Did I make a mistake? 3222. Internal IP address 192.168.99.3. Somehow it lost the IP address. What step am I missing? Oh, wait. Ah, Taggart, you idiot. Does anyone in chat know why it's not working? I think I know why it's not working. Not the firewall, although that's a good guess. Okay, now I'm not sure why this isn't working in PowerShell. The reason was I was in WSL. And the trick with WSL is that I actually have to hit... It's not a non-exposed port. It is an exposed port. The problem is that in Windows Subsystem for Linux, you're actually inside one of these other networks, right? And so you have to hit your... Is it going to tell you? No, it doesn't use the cache name server. Inside of Windows Subsystem for Linux, you have to use, like, I think it's going to be this. SSH at 1. Something like that. Yeah, see, that's hanging. It's not a... Oh, no route to host. Okay. 172.20. Here it is. 172.23. 128.1. 128.1. Should work. But if it doesn't... let's see. Can we ping 192.168.99.1? No. SSH is running. Yep, it's running right here. That's fine. Does this thing actually have talkback? It does. All right, let's see what else I might have done wrong here. IP address 99.1 via Ethernet snatch switch. .99.3. Run a TCP dump to see if it's even getting there. If we have time, I don't actually care that much. For the moment, it's not the main material of what we're supposed to do tonight. I'll come back to it if we have time. If I can get to it here at 10.1.0.1. Would I make that 5 or 4? 4. Okay, so I can get to it just fine in the isolation network. Cool. See that? I'm at Moodle now. Which is fine. I wanted to do the PowerShell NetNat. I did it today, earlier, on a different machine, and it worked out just fine. So, I don't know what the story is, but we'll troubleshoot it if we have a minute. But more to the point, what we want to do right now is actually install Moodle. So, what we're going to do is kind of get the prerequisites set up. And that's going to look like sudo apt install Apache 2 php mysql php pair. What else do we need? PHP zip, PHP Solar. We're gonna need that too, of course, for what we want to do. I'm trying to think. Do we need anything else? I think it's PHP XML. It'll tell us. I'm just trying to pregame it. Okay, that's going to come down, and you know it's funny too because I was doing this with Ansible last night, and it was so nice. It was so nice. Yoda Dog, why do you think that I need a route? Why do you think I need a route from 172.17? If you're talking about WSL, WSL has the route for sure. Okay, I can't ping it, but it has the route. Make sure we can connect from your box to the other one. The answer is yes, but connection to close port. Let's try .1. Interesting. It's like the NAT didn't take or something. Maybe it is a firewall thing. Although, I didn't have to do that before. Is it? Oh, wait a minute. Is it because I'm using? Yeah, I think I know why. Let's get NetNat static mapping. Y'all are not gonna let this go, are you? Until we get it right. So we're gonna remove NetNat static mapping, and we should be able to do it by ID. No? Static mapping ID 0. Yes. Okay, so we removed that static mapping, and the reason is we're gonna do it now on a higher port. Let's try on 9222. Hmm. You think maybe it is an Ubuntu thing? Oh, maybe because it's like Ubuntu desktop. Do you think maybe Ubuntu has a firewall here? That would be wild. It's been so long since I've used Ubuntu desktop. Get out of here with this launch page. Yeah. And remote login is enabled. And duh, obviously it is. I just SSH'd in from my Kali box. That's not the issue. No, it's definitely the Windows routing. Okay, so we've got Apache installed, and we have PHP installed. PHP 7, interestingly, there's PHP Solar. Now, we don't have Solar itself yet. Stay tuned. And the next thing we're going to have to do is download Moodle itself, which we will do thusly. We will stop the download here, copy the link, get over here, and we'll just wget it. And while that's downloading, I'm going to go look up the other thing that I always forget, which is the initial setup for MySQL. Setup, go to 4. Yeah. Come on. Boo. I hate the MySQL secure installation. Okay. Is it up? Can I hit it right now? Did I or did I not ask it to install MySQL? I did not. I asked it to install PHP MySQL, but I did not ask it to install actual MySQL. What is it, server? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Just gonna haunt me all night. I'm gonna set up a totally other NAT. That has nothing to do with SSH. Okay, that's still doing its thing. Over here. I'm trying to connect from the host, the hypervisor. over to, yeah, inside. And I have a NAT translation on the switch to do so. But it's one of those things that, like... Now this, I don't think will work. Is it 8888? Yeah. Yeah, that won't work at all. But if we... Right. For WSL 172.23.128.1, if we hit that... So look at that. It's listening. It's not dying, but it's not translating it over. Okay, whatever. So we have MySQL installed, sudo MySQL. All right, things that we need to do. Create user Moodle. Good Lord, always with this MySQL nonsense. We want to do a user. Yep, thank you, DigitalOcean. Always there when I need you. This is exactly what I want. Create user DB. Hey, KidsSZ, thank you so much for the follow. At localhost. There is no IP tables. Again, we're SSH'd into it right now. Identified by... We're not going to be secure about this. Moodle DB pass, because it doesn't matter at the moment. And we have to give it privileges, don't we? Grant all privileges. Yeah, like that. Nope. Yep. Okay, there we go. Grant all privileges on Moodle.star. Star to Moodle at Moodle DB at localhost. Okay. MySQL is not securely set up, but it doesn't matter. It's set up the way that we need it to be. And now we're going to unzip Moodle latest. Cool. We're going to cp-r Moodle to var www HTML. And then we're sudo chown-r www data var w come on HTML Moodle. Yes. Yes. And we also need to mkdir. This is just a thing I know from Moodle. It's going to want to do a folder at var www Moodle data. And same deal. It puts its data in a folder that is not readable by the web root by Apache. Okay. Think we're good. At which point now, we're gonna go to 10.1, 10.0.1.5, 4 slash Moodle. Hey, look at that. Most of that was muscle memory. This looks good, this looks good, this looks good. Web address, Moodle directory, data directory. Looks good. We're not getting yelled at about anything. Database name is good. Database user is Moodle DB. Database password is Moodle DB pass. Thank you so much for putting this in plain text. Good, good. All right, it didn't yell at us. Okay, here we go. This is the stuff that I was expecting. So we need a couple of extra... Oh, did you really, Sar? Wonderful. All right, we need a couple of extra PHP things. PHP SOAP, XML RPC, Intel, GD, and MB-string. So let's go ahead and add those. Oh, hey, look, it's the exact reason why I use a transparent terminal. Why would he sleep when he has my code to destroy? Ginger. XML RPC and we don't strictly need all these. PHP SOAP. But we'll toss them all in anyway. I realize this is a lot of setup, and this is actually like breaking my rule for more setup than work, but hopefully we'll get to it soon. Sorry, it's actually 3 people working in shifts. Well, he has to work less, you know. Sudo systemctl restart Apache 2, because we just did a whole bunch of stuff to PHP's configuration. Let's reload that and see what's up. Hey! Version 7.3 is required. What? What happens if I do sudo apt install yphp now that I've updated? Hilarious. Welp, I guess we're using an older version of Moodle, which is fine. All right, let's go get an older version of Moodle, because we can't use 3.11 apparently. And that's, you know what, that's fine. Using the oldest one was probably not in the spirit of what we're doing anyway. Come on. Legacy releases. What do you think? Thanks, Yoda Dog. I think I probably could have gotten the vulnerability going. It's just that the installer required PHP 7.1 or 7. Whatever. 3610. This looks good. I'm trying to think about how many times I've done this in my life, and it's making me kind of sad. Great. All right. One more time. Good. Good. Little DB. Little DB pass. Oh, thank you so much, Form Fill, for saving that. Good to go. All right, now we can install Moodle. Imagine the poor school administrator that doesn't have formal IP training or IT training that has to do this. All right, this is getting itself set up. Meanwhile, Apache Solar, because we know we're going to need this too. Welcome to Apache Solar. Now, we know, look at this. There are recent security announcements. Look at this pleasant palette we have up here. This is nice. It's very 70s. Okay, so obviously here's the Log4J vulnerability, right? It says that it's affected. And that just takes us to the NIST listing. It's like not helpful. It gets better though. It'll say, that's NIST. Here's the announcement. Okay. Versions affected. Okay, versions affected, right? 7.40 to 7.73 and 8.0 to 8.11.0. Now, if I go to download, somehow the top thing is still 8.11.0, meaning that if I wanted to use Solar today, I would be directed to download a vulnerable version of Apache Solar. And 7.73, right? What the hell? They're pushing vulnerable versions in both branches. They do have a non-vulnerable version out, though. I mean, the announcement says Apache Solar releases prior to 8.11.1 were using upgrade to Solar 8.11.1. Oh, when available. That is not great. Incredible. Something went wrong here. I'm going to try this outside of Zap just in case. But it looks like we might have to... Yep, that's right. I would rather scroll through all those commands and just rerun sudo mysql. Okay, we're going to do drop database Moodle. That's going to take a second. I'm annoyed at the Solar this whole situation seems really nasty to me. But cool, we can obviously download the binary here. That's still dropping. Can I copy and paste into... Yes, I am messing with solar. Ah, cool. I do have copy and paste between the two. That's nice. Thanks, Hyper-V. Thanks for doing that, if not the network address translation. Unzip solar. Oh, right. It's so weird. They... You tried to replicate John Hammond's room and couldn't get it to work? Okay. So there's solar, MV, solar 8.11.0. Just call it solar. And then we're going to sudo cp r... Actually, MV, because I don't need it anywhere else. Solar to opt, solar. Hey, we destroyed the Moodle database. Let's try that one more time. We're going to create database Moodle. Seems besides Log4J, it's also very Java version dependent. Yeah, there's a huge difference, as we're finding out, between being able to, like, trigger the network request and getting code execution. There's a huge difference between that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, looks good. And let's try this again. So 10. Yes. Looks good. With thousands of lines of JNDI logs, but no exploit. That's interesting. Okay, so hopefully this thing is doing its deal. Now, the mistake I made before was that I was running this in my proxy, which has a timeout that kills the connection. That's a real bad idea when you're doing this, because the PHP is doing stuff live. It's doing it right now on the page. And so it takes time. Right now it's creating the database and like doing all this stuff. So it takes a second for it all to happen. Don't do this part through a proxy. I don't know why you'd need that advice, because you're not going to install Moodle. But anyway, so we have Solar ready to go. Let's exit out here. And Bost, thank you so much for the follow. Let's see, bin. So the way that Solar works is kind of interesting. You can install it as a service, but I'm just going to do sudo Solar. And if I start it, it will work. But I also have to create an index and call it Moodle. So I'm just going to do that right now. Java not found. That's interesting. There we go. Installing Solar Common solves that problem. Gives me a JVM. How we doing here? Still working. Meanwhile, still a mystery as to what went wrong with the network address translation. Did I skip a step? Did the new NetNat? Yeah. Looks good. I'm allowing 3222. See if that makes any difference. Oh, it's 9222 now. So that hangs, interestingly. It doesn't give me a connection refused. Let me try like a different IP address. I'm looking right at them. Mm-mm. And that is still the net, right? Get net static mapping. I have two. One for 8888 and one for 9222. Yeah. That looks right to me. And now the firewall rule is definitely letting it through. Actually, to prove that point... Never mind. Let's go back to what we're actually doing. Is this thing still installing? And so is this. Guess I should have given it more than one processor, huh? Boy, I'm striking out. Okay, so while this is setting up, let's set up the other part of the attack here, which is going to be the Jindy exploit. This is a really nice bit of code. And where did I get it? I got it from here, from Pimps. That's the name. The Jindy exploit kit. This is the latest, I think, version of this. I found the original one that I was using on Saturday got taken down, I think, by the owner. But this is a really nice tool to kind of spin up both an LDAP and HTTP server to allow for easy tests of this vulnerability. So it works a little bit differently than the Jindy exploit kit that we were using before. Rather than a path for a base64 encoded command, the way that this one works is you set up the command in the first place. Let's walk through it. So we'll do Java jar. This is more Java than I've ever done in my life. I haven't written any of it, but this is more Java than I've dealt with in my life, and I don't like it. So here, we can set up the address of the HTTP server. So we'll do j10.1.0. I keep forgetting what this thing's IP address is. 5. And it's 10.0.1.5, right? And the port will be 8888. And the LDAP is going to be here, 10.0.1.5. We'll do 1389. And we're not going to do RMI for this. Does that J and DI exploit do the serialization bypass thing? It does, I think. It definitely is loading class. So what we do here is we give it a command, and let's just give it touch temp pwned, just like how the demo was before. And so our exploit server is kind of up and running, and what you're seeing here is that depending on the JDK version that you're dealing with, you would give it a different URL to test. So RMI is set up as well as LDAP. This thing's still taking its sweet time. Good news is this is PHP. Gunner, thank you for the follow, by the way. I'm just going to check in on here. Okay, it's definitely getting created. Ooh. Okay, yeah, that worked too. Database is getting generated. It is gigantic. But normally what I'm used to seeing is progress. I'm used to seeing like notifications that stuff is happening on the screen. And that doesn't appear to be happening, which is concerning. But it's definitely still doing stuff. Oh yeah, look at that. MySQL's still cooking. It's definitely still doing stuff. All right. Well, while we're waiting then, let's test this out on something else. I still have the ability to run our Docker vulnerable app. So let's do Docker image ls. There it is. So we're going to run this. So we're going to do Docker container run, name L4S, and run it there in a daemon mode. And we'll do port 9999 to port, I think it's 8080. And just like so. Yeah. Okay, so we now have a vulnerable version of the application up and running. Let's curl localhost 9999. and we get back a bad request, which we know we do because it's expecting the X API version header. We get back hello world at this point. And now we can do some evil. Single quotes, because $. The second I'm about to do the exploit, right? Of course, it says success. It's very funny. All right. It's still loading though, so we'll let it keep going. Let's do our exploit here. So what we're gonna do is Jindy. Yeah, see, this is what I was expecting to see. Not this. Get out of here. Yeah, this is what was supposed to be happening the whole time. All right. Good God. Okay, Jindy, and then let's get our LDAP here. 1.8? This is actually a question that you all will be much more capable of answering than I. How can I easily find out what JDK version I'm running on Linux? I've got the Java version, but that doesn't really tell me what version of the JDK I'm using. Java C? Not there. Oh, but I guess it's like JDK and then 8. But the thing is that it's OpenJDK. Like, I think that's my question, is the translation between OpenJDK in this case and the Java JDK. You know what I mean? I think that's the issue I'm running into. We did Java version. My thing is, it doesn't tell me. What am I like? What are we talking about here? Is it 2.18? And so this isn't. None of this is gonna work. Anyway, we're going to use our known vulnerable application first. See what happens. Oops. X API version. So we at least got the callback. But I'm not seeing the command show up here. But what we're going to do is in another window, we're going to do a docker exec-it L4s bin sh. And let's see. Okay, so yeah, we didn't hit it there. So it wasn't that one. While we're in here, Java version. So it does say it's 1.8.0.181. Interesting. Come on. still building stuff. That's so funny. Because interestingly, let me kill this version of the exploit kit and let me go get the old version. So this is the older one, which we might use. Unzip Jindy exploit. Okay. Now if we do Java jar Jindy exploit. That tells me, okay, so we're going to do -i is 10.0.1.5. The LDAP port is going to be 1389. And the HTTP port is going to be 8888, right? Cool. I actually like this one more, but I don't know if it does everything that we need it to do. But now let's try the same exploit again, except this time I do have to do it with the like let me look it up. Jindy exploits. Yeah, so this is the one that got taken down, but we're gonna look for a historical version of the page. There it is. And it does have deserialization, but we also have basic command base64. Cool. So we're going to try that out. Drop that link. Yeah, I guess I can't have a problem with that if I'm using it on stream. It wasn't GitHub that took it down. It was the owner. So, I don't know why, but the internet is forever. Don't do crimes. I shouldn't have to say that, but don't do crimes. That's not what we're about here. Oh my god, can I get you a sandwich, Moodle? Honestly, doing some NIM programming would feel like therapy after a week of Java. Okay, so what we want to do here is... Oh, I had it copied and then I forgot it was basic command base64. Basic command base64, but what are we base64ing? Do I have enough tmux panes open? All right, now let's see what happens. That went not the way that I thought it was going to. G3 Plus, thank you so much for the follow. Got a Java error. So it saw the command. Superclass access check failed. Does not export to unnamed module. Interesting. So something went wrong with the Java code there. That's different. Java.xml does not export Access LTC runtime to unnamed module. Oh, interesting. Something wrong with my class path, maybe. How are you not done? Take all night. All right, well, you know what? We might as well set up the other application while this is taking forever and a day. And so the other application that we want to play with tonight has nothing to do with Log4Shell. It is PHP, and it is mine. So way back in 2014, I had a problem, which was I needed a curriculum mapping tool for the school that I was working at. And so curriculum mapping was this really popular concept. It doesn't really matter why, but like to map the lessons that you were, the curriculum of any given subject at any given grade level, and go and see if there are any gaps from grade level to grade level and across subject material, and not just look for gaps, but also look for intersection opportunities so that there could be communication between subjects. That's what curriculum mapping was all about. It was a super hot idea at the time. Maybe it still is. But in order to do that, you need to have all the data in one place to review. Hence, this PHP application. There was a really expensive commercial piece of software that did this, and I didn't want anyone to have to pay. So in between, work and also planning a wedding, I was writing this. It was the first thing I ever wrote, really, as an application, and it's a mess, but it did work. And so what we're going to do is we're going to clone this and see what happens here. Actually, just pull the source code from the zip. Be done. You're really good at cybering when you were a kid. You might not be old enough to know what that means. Maybe you are. Some of us grew up in AOL chat rooms. ASL, baby. AOL chat rooms. ICQ. Haha. Welcome to the Millennial Nostalgia Hour. There had to have been a better way to do this. Right? Like a progress bar, maybe, would have been cool. All right, I have no idea what's about to happen. Oh, good. Directory indexing is what's about to happen. What is it? Do I go to install? Oh my god. I forgot I used that background with a Seawolf submarine for this. Oh my god. As you, God, this is like, this is a little bit, I'm feeling very vulnerable at the moment. I've never shared this code really publicly. And as you can see, there was quite a bit of inspiration from Moodle in how this thing was set up. Sorry, did you fuzz the install fields? Don't make the password uncrackable so we can show off a full chain pre-auth RCE. Okay. You mean the admin password, not the database password, right? Where's my create user? Wish granted. Periscope DB at localhost. Identified by Periscope DB pass. Unless you wanted it from RockU. Sorry, did you want it from a word list? Or is this good? This is instructive in a way, which is that like 80% of hacking is setting the stuff up. By the way, this actually did come out before Periscope, the live streaming app, if anyone remembers that. I was so angry when that came out. Oh, good. So we finished installing one PHP application as another one kicks off. Yeah, that's about right. Could not create the config file. Oh my god. No, but I mean, look. This is actually how both Moodle and WordPress used to do it. Where if they couldn't write the config file, they would just give it to you and say, you do it. Although I'm pretty sure that there was a cross-site scripting already if I had given it stuff with quotes. What's the problem with the closing PHP tag? First vulnerability, not deleting the install folder after installation. We'll just not worry about that and trust that the system had deleted it. Is that true? I seriously thought that I wrote deletion code for the install folder. Yeah, so Ubuntu doesn't come with Vim installed. It comes with VI, but it doesn't come with Vim. You have to install it yourself. Sure looks like it actually wrote successfully. Interesting. Well, no, it's a good question. So this is, I mean, look, we can. This was 7 years ago, so I don't remember everything that I did, and I did it in a complete fugue. But I'm pretty sure. There you go. I did delete the install files, Sar. It's right here. CVE denied. Okay. I'm so sorry for the web design of this. Can you verify it's actually deleted? Yeah, the install's finished. Let's see. Var www.html cd periscope. Right. Okay. Before we go dive into Periscope, get it? Let's do the full Moodle thing because I want to finish this up. I don't need any of this. That's fine. We need to enter a password. Okay. Good, 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 good. Update the profile. Now, to set up Solar, well, let's set this up. Let's finish all this up, right? Let's let Moodle do its thing. But in order for us to use the global search, we have to connect it to Solar. And I swear there's like an RCE in there for someone to find too. But let's go to. We're gonna make. An index. I thought it was Well, the good news is that the Moodle documentation should tell us how to do this. Let's just do solar start. Let's see what happens. Oh. This is something GoPro taught me about, right? Which is we want to set the U limit here. There it is. So we can get solar running, but can I solar C Moodle? Solar create? Create collection. Create collection. Oh, create -C. There we go. Thanks, Gunnar. Thanks for hanging out. There it is. Okay, so we created the new index in Solar. The new collection, I should say. And then Solar start. Oh, and Solar's already running. So I think we're good. I think we're ready to do this. So what was the problem? It didn't like my password. Admin, user. That's good. It didn't like my password. I don't know what it didn't like here. No, of course, GoPro. You do such a great job maintaining it. I don't know why we can't get past the registration here. It's kind of insane to me that this project from 2014 still runs at all. Okay, well, obviously I'm gonna... Oh, man. Great. Oh, very good. Oh, that was just me, Oh, I can't even edit it. That's very funny. I was just adding a subject, right? Okay, finally, we're through this in Moodle. I'm sorry that I'm kind of going back and forth. Okay, at long last, we have a Moodle installation that we can use. Let's make a single course. We're just going to add a new course. Obviously, we're going to call it Web App Pen Testing. Hey, listen, this is how the real life works, right? This is no try hack me room. This is no hack the box where it's all set up. We're doing the real research from scratch. Yes, it took a long time, but this is how I wanted to do it because this is how it really works, right? You have to putting in the work means that you'll have a deeper understanding of what's going on. Obviously the course is starting today. And it's going to end a year from now. That's a long course. All right. We'll just save this. I'm just giving it some content. It doesn't actually matter. But we're going to go back to the home page and site administration. And let's look for search, ironically. And we're going to enable global search. That's part 1. And then here it says, select search engine. Let me save the changes because we just enabled global search. And then we're going to set up the select search engine. We're going to set it to Solar. There it is, finally. And no Solar configuration found. So host name, index name, we just made it. It's Moodle. It's running on 8983. We're not using authentication. So if we go back up to search, we have now configured our Moodle instance. Notice that we've got a search bar up here now. We have a Moodle instance that is configured to use search with Solar. And finally, we can test this dang thing out. So I'm going to use the command that the newer Jindy exploit kit that we were playing with. And I am going to use, since we know that we're on like a pretty new JDK, at least it seems like we are. I'm going to use this right here, this LDAP query. And let's give it a shot. Let's go to here. And actually, just kidding. Before we do that, I want to load it up in my actual Zap session. There we go. Log in. Admin. Cool. All right, so I'm logged in. By the way, now that we're finally in a place where we can do some testing, I wanted to shout out something. In the last couple of days, Zap has enabled Zap has enabled kind of a test for Log4Shell, and Nuclei has as well. But in both cases, there are a couple of gotchas that you want to be aware of. Here's the one that you want to be aware of. So if we look at, oh, hey, Orbital, let's take a look first at our marketplace. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're on Zap 2.11.1, which just came out. That is the version that's going to have access to this stuff. Then what you want to do is you want to look for, in your add-ons, you want to look for your alpha quality active scanner rules. And as you can see, one of them is the Log4Shell scanner. So I'm going to install this right here. And I need to install OST support as well, which is for out-of-band stuff. So basically what Zap is going to do, and if you don't set this up first, it won't work, is it's going to use its OST configuration either with interact sh, so you got to configure that, or boast if you have that configured. Either way. So if I set up boast like this, now this will attempt to use this configuration in its attack. So I want to say out of bounds service using active scans, set up boast. All right, cool. Now, something important to do. If I want to do this in Zap, we'll do it manually and in Zap. And we'll do it with canary tokens too. Let's do all of them. Oh, right. The other thing you want to do, though, in Zap, if you want to just test for Log4Shell, is you want to set up a scan policy that just tests for that. Here's how you do that. In the scan policy manager, which is either here or in Analyze. I don't know why it's there, but this scan policy manager, you can create a new policy. Call it Log4Shell. And it's kind of a pain. Well, not really. So we're going to do apply default. We're going to apply off to all rules, which turns everything off. And then we go over to miscellaneous and turn that one to default for the threshold. And I like to turn on high for the strength. I don't think it matters. But so now this policy is just testing for Log4Shell. Okay. And now if I choose attack and active scan, I should actually include this in a context, but if I do active scan against Moodle, just the Moodle folder, I can choose the Log4Shell policy for that active scan and just go to work. So it's making requests here, as you can see. Doesn't look like it's finding anything. I don't wonder if it's breaking stuff. But look, there's the Jindy string. So it is actually working. That's kind of cool, right? I'm going to kill that. Let's make sure I can still access this thing. It didn't break. Great. Now, let's see what we can do with our manual test. Oh, I have to create the actual payload. JNDI:LDAP. Okay. Yo. We got a callback from Moodle. Now, I am not certain whether I can go further with this, but for sure, I'm able to hit this. Now, let's just try that in Moodle, or sorry, in Zap. So I have the history here. I've got the search. Theoretically, yes, I do. Let's reset it to like a not horrible string. Q equals, just set it to test. Okay. And then just on that search, I'm going to run an active scan and use Log4Shell. And let's see if we can get a trigger. Now, I might not have the OST stuff set up correctly. It should have hit that. Yeah, look at that. Let's get a shell. All right, I mean, let's try. So the first thing is, obviously, we're able to trigger this, right? Now, if you haven't seen the way to do this with canary tokens, let's do that as well, just so you can see it. So with canary tokens, generate a log4shell, call it Moodle test. And yeah, we'll do my email. Create my canary token. I have like 100 of these at this point. But I'm going to copy this payload, and then I'll toss that into the global search. And just going to go check my email here. Oh, there it is. Your canary token was triggered. And there's the host name. All right, so if we wanted to get a shell on this, I guess that we have a couple of different options. It doesn't seem like I can execute commands here on this, but I am going to try an RMI string just in case. I don't really know a whole lot about RMI, but I do know that this should trigger. That one's not... Oh, wait. Why is it 172? That's weird. Field it. Thank you so much for the bits. Appreciate that. Oh, I guess I have to give it the RMI as well, which was what? Java jar injection. Thank you, Fish, for making that completion easy. RMI. So it's a -r 10.0.1.5. And what was that RMI port running on? 1099? Fine. So we want to try this as our attack here. No hits. Now, RMI might not be enabled. Let's make sure we can get that LDAP still. Oh, interesting. I wonder if we broke Solar. No, it's not. Dark Priestess, thank you so much for the follow. We didn't break Solar. Wait a minute, that's wrong. Look at that, it says 000. That's odd. It's just odd. So doing the old school one, let's see if we can try this. Not getting anything there either. 10.0.1.5. I wonder what happened. We had this working just fine. Let's make sure we can still hit the canary token. Yep. Canary token still works. So, something else went wrong. Let's stop solar. Actually, let's just do a netcat 1389 just to see if we can get a hit. Ten dot 0.1.5 1389. It's no longer making outbound connections. Okay, so that connection actually does work. It's just for whatever reason, something else is going on. Let's stop. Solar stop. Let's bring it down and back up again. Wondering if maybe we did something untoward to the service. Yeah, there it is. So we can crash it just fine. So we brought it back successfully. And we want to do basic command base 64 to test that out, right? And we'll do echo touch temp. Interesting that it's interesting to me that we were able to still make outbound, like DNS resolution was still happening, but internal network connections were not. That's really interesting, right? Said invalid LDAP query basic command base 64. I didn't like that one. Should we try basic reverse shell? Oh, wait a second. There were 2 slashes. Yep, and then we get that error there. Well, let's try basic / reverse shell. I can't imagine that would work, but you never know. Basic reverse shell 10.0.1.5, and I'm running out of my favorite port numbers. Let's do 9898. Yeah, I'm getting this error here. Exception in thread LDAP listener. No class. Def founder cannot initialize class. com.feihong. LDAP utils to cache. There's some sort of pathing problem, it seems like, in there. Or maybe it's the same thing that we were running into with the other library, where this version of the JDK is just not vulnerable to the serialization issue. But here's the big picture, right? Which is that Moodle with this configuration is out there. It exists. This is the point that I wanted to make. It's not a vulnerability in Moodle technically, because it's a vulnerability in Solr. But Moodle can be easily configured to use Solr as its search engine, and there are schools, I'm sure, out there who have done so. And now Moodle is claiming that there's no problem with Log4Shell. And I just wanted to put it out there that that's not entirely true. There is an issue, and Moodle users should be made aware of it. And there's no like user mailing list. There's no support, right? Email for Moodle because it's open source. But a responsible maintainer would at least use their platform, whether it be Twitter, whether it be, their website or something, to make an announcement about Log4Shell. But that's not what's happened, right? If we go to moodle.org, maybe I'm going to get played and there is one now. Nope. Not a mumbling word. And to me, that's egregious. So, at least we got to the point where we could demonstrate that, yeah, this thing is vulnerable when it's in this configuration. It's not every site that's going to be like this, but some will be. And yeah, it's worth... I've been making a little bit of a stink. I did twice. Sorry, I did at them on Twitter twice, and they haven't said anything back. So with this, I'm going to continue to make noise about this, and feel free to do so as well. Okay. With that out of the way then, we're going to play a little bit with Periscope. Because I know Czar wanted me to do this very, very badly. Admin. Super secure password. So let's see. What have we already established? I'm glad LastPass is going independent. Let's spider Periscope. That'll work just great because it's all PHP. Yeah. Okay. So the truth is that most of this is the same thing. It's the same kind of work again and again, right? It's just about until you get to something cool. So if I do, like, let's manage a grade level. Say all of these are going to be vulnerable to cross-site scripting, right? So if I said 1 or like 9, we'll call it 9th grade. But all of these are going to be interesting. So we do subjects, right? So we do science. Cool. And then if I do but then let's do math, but we call it like H1 test. This is all going to be vulnerable to cross-site scripting, right? Yeah, it is. Right, so any of these, and they're all going to be very much the same. So that's not super interesting. But this might be. If I click on E equals 15, this populates, but let's see what happens if I mess with that a little bit. Ooh. Let's even, let's not mess, or let's not play around. Let's use SQL map. So here, let me make a new folder. I think the big problem is the XSS is exploitable because I forgot to apply one big overall mitigation. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because it's the same thing across the board. So we're going after Periscope, and let's save. Let's go to the history. Equals 15. Let's save this raw. Save it in here. What's that? Subjects. And let's fire SQL map off against it. No CSRF tokens. Okay, that's 2 things. Yeah, I didn't even know what cross-site request forgery was in 2014. Which is, my fault, right? But it's also one of the pitfalls of self-teaching, that I didn't have any guides. Oh, God. Look at that. Get parameter E does not appear to be dynamic and might be injectable. It already found that it's MySQL. Yeah, let's go for it. Yikes. Do I want to keep testing the others? No. All right, cool. Let's get tables. Hey, OS shell is actually OS shell might work in this configuration. I've never had it work. Let's go for it. Yeah, that didn't work. But okay. So the database is going to be Periscope. The table is going to be users. And let's just dump that out. Yeah. All right. So, hey, at least I encrypted the passwords. Not, well, but they're there. This is post-auth, though, so it's not as bad. Yeah, well, let me help you out there, Tsar. Oh my god. I forgot I put an upload files thing in here. Hang on a second. I want to see if the calendar still works. There's, like, other stuff in here. Oh my god, I forgot this. Ugh, gross. Hang on. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, this must be CSV files. This... Hey, choose file. How did I test for the file? Yeah, no. And Red Team, I gotta tell you, like, obviously this is egregious. I'm not getting into the hack the box, try hack me, which do you think is better? That question is a trap. It doesn't do any checks on the file whatsoever. Does that work? Oh, God. Oh, I have to change the config file. I see what you're saying. Gross. Well, that's obviously going to work just fine. We need grade levels. Just need start dates and end dates. Ugh. Hold a second. I want to make a grade level. Huh. Is that a typo? Or something? I mean, it would have been. But let's see. Browse units. I basically gave... There's so many SQL injection vulnerabilities in this. I had no idea what a proxy was. So that apply, what did that do? Right? Look at this. This is definitely going to be injectable. All of this is injectable. But let's see if we can get a pre-auth RCE. Yeah, great. I can't even log out. I feel like I didn't commit the final version here because I lost it at some point. What did I forget, Sar? Yeah, because, like, that was my thing. I thought I actually did do some protection, but apparently I forgot to do something very important. Okay. Now, if I know me, I didn't use single quotes. Look at get standards. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, let's look at getstandards.php. Ah, there it is. Oh, and it's accessible pre-auth. I forgot to set up a session check on here. Good call. Yeesh. Interesting. Well, that's fun. All right. So if I have to change the config file, let's do that. I want to at least get the get a shell on my own code. This is very humbling, even though this was 6 years ago. Stay humble by pwning your own stuff years after you wrote it. It's a good strategy. Okay. Yeah, like I learned how to do security at all. That's something that changed. And then var HTML periscope lib. Oh, periscope lib config.php. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to do this. Just to say, like, it's okay to go back and recognize that you've grown. So it should be just uploads, not .. uploads. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's try to do an upload now. And why wait? Let's just do the web shell. Uploads, not /uploads? Okay. Oh, Tokumaro, if you're not familiar with lastcc's hack tools, yeah. That is what that is. That should probably be a command. We talk about that one enough. But here it is. And it's available in the Chrome store as well as the Firefox store. Okay. Let's upload shell.php. That one did not take. What happened when I posted it? Let's try upload files. Yikes. Look at that. Database query errors right on the page. You love to see it. And there we go. This is like, it almost would be like a CTF if I turned this into how many mistakes can you find, and like it's like the PHP version of Juicebox, or Juice Shop I should say, right? God. This was the first and last. Oh, hey Joe. Good. Glad to see that you're here to look at the PHP code that I wrote 6 years ago that's this vulnerable. This was the first and last PHP application that I ever wrote. I very quickly decided that I hated PHP, never wanted to do that again, and quickly learned how to do stuff in JavaScript. Can I get root? Probably not. This is an out of the box Ubuntu 18.04. Unless there's something funny like a sudo vulnerability that's still kicking around in that. I don't think so. There's not going to be an obvious privilege escalation. There might be a kernel exploit or something. What is the kernel on this? 5.0. I doubt it. No. No, I need like Linux kernel. It means job security as a vulnerability researcher. You are not wrong. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If you want to play with this horrible piece of code, it's buggy too. There's stuff that definitely didn't make it into the final commit. This bug's not even a way to get root 2 stars. Yeah, that's what we get for doing real research. Although, Joe, if you just dropped in, just to recap here, we did demonstrate. We did, yeah. Here's the code for anybody who wants it. It's archived because it's horrible. But we did manage to demonstrate that there was a condition under which you can get Log4Shell vulnerabilities going through in Moodle if you enable the global search with Solar. We had that rolling. Let's bring that back up, actually, just to show it one more time. So we had this open. We had 1389, 8888, and we'll run the Jindy LDAP 10.0.1.5 1389 test, just to demonstrate that we can get this to hit. Indeed we can. And now this is an older version of Moodle, but I've tested this in newer versions and it works fine. The JDK version is going to determine for you what else you can do. But yeah, this is a concern for schools who are using this. All right, I think we're going to call it a night with that. I hope you had fun, you know, tearing apart my first and last PHP application. I know I did. Let's see if there's anybody else who is streaming that we can send you all to. I will be back tomorrow, of course, doing some programming. In all honesty, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing yet tomorrow, but we'll have some fun in one language or another. Is OreoByte actually streaming? Is that actually happening? Yes. Well, OreoByte's been a good friend to us, so we will go ahead and raid him. Can you farm CVEs? I mean, I guess you could. It'd be kind of weird. Yoda Dog wants to know if you got your network routes fixed. No, but I'll go crazy doing it. Okay, friends, until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking, everybody. Take care.